this is 365801 and this is another BL Year in Review video for 2023, and this is all about the 2023 releases that I purchased. So this video is of course all about the 2023 releases that I purchased in 2023, so new releases for that year. I have done this video previously. I have data for that for the past 4 years, so I would recommend going and watching last year's video or even the year before so that you can see the difference, but I will be utilising those videos in this one so I can compare and contrast the data and statistics for the past 5 years, I guess, since 2019. This is the 5th, I think, time that I'm doing a video like this, so it's going to be really interesting to look back on all of the data for previous years. Now, it's very important that I once again mention this, I mention this in every video, that release dates are slightly different in the UK than they are in other places in the world. For example, something might be released in North America and we won't actually be able to purchase it for a month or even longer in the UK. I have mentioned this in previous videos. I will be bringing that up as and when within this video if there's a particular title. But yeah, there are some issues when it comes to determining if something was a 2023 release. Now I know it might seem like that's not subjective, but it kind of is. If something is released and it has its publication date as December 2022, but it's actually on all UK sites as a pre-order until halfway through January, that means I can't actually purchase it. It's not actually released in the UK. So yeah, I will be using my own ways of calculating that, but I have done that in the past, and so technically it should all work out in the end. There are of course some publishers like Tokyopop that publish their titles in digital form, but they don't actually publish them in print form until later, so you can't actually get the physical form until a few months after it's actually been released. So yeah, there's some issues with that when it comes to releases in November or December time that might not be available in the UK, and also when certain publishers make things available to UK buyers. So here are all of my 2023 releases that I purchased in 2023, and as you can see, it's a fairly sizable stack. As usual, I will just caveat once again that some of the dates for some of them are a little bit skewed just because I have purchased them in the UK. So yeah, I've taken lots of different places, information, seller sites and things like that, because sometimes it's harder to find out. But in terms of as best as I can, these are my 2023 released purchases. And yeah, it's a fairly big stack. I had to zoom out to be able to fit it in the frame. It is a lot more than I would have expected, especially when I started going through the numbers in terms of how many I got altogether. And it is 33, so I have 33 volumes here, which is quite a lot for me. And when I compare it to how many I got overall for the year in terms of my 2023 purchases, I picked up 163 volumes in total, and 33 of them were 2023 releases. Now I say it's quite a substantial amount because I like to compare to previous years, and because I have that data we can. So we can have a look in comparison to the previous years. So if we look at the number of 2019 releases that I purchased in 2019, it was 25, which is a fair number because in 2020 it was 19 2020 releases, and in 2021 I picked up 20 2021 releases. In 2022, so last year, it was 21 that were published in 2022, and so up until this point they've always been around the 20 mark, so between 19 and 25, which seemed like that seemed my general area, the numbers that I would be getting. But this year it's 33, which is seems suspiciously high, but I guess I've been really good about picking up newer titles this year, and I do know that throughout the year, when I've been reading something, I've picked something up and gone, oh, it's a 2023 release. Get me reading 2023 releases. Because that's not something that I generally have a tendency to do. As you can see, I pick up around 20 each year, and this year for 2023, it's been around 30. So there's been about 10 more newer releases in my collection added, which is a little bit different from previous years. Now, I also like to look at how that number compares to my overall number. So as I said, I picked up 163 volumes in total for 2023, and 33 of them were released in 2023. And when I look at my percentage for that, so the year releases versus the percentage total, for 2019, 14.5% were 2019 releases. In 2020, 11.5% were 2020 releases. In 2021, 17.5% were 2021 releases. And then there was a big jump last year in 2022. 23% were released in 2022. So there was a much higher percentage of that year's releases being purchased compared to my overall total. And in this year, it's gone down slightly to 20%. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, considering my overall total is the highest it's ever been, but the percentage overall is slightly lower. Last year I picked up a lot less in number, but I also picked up more of that particular year's for 23% of them. I do think this is really interesting though. It shows that I have maybe been picking up a lot more from previous years. And I thought that would be something that I haven't looked at before, but I might want to look at this year. How many have I picked up from 2022, 2021, 2020, or even 2019? Now, as I said, this isn't something I've ever done before, but it is something that I've thought quite a lot about. But it really felt like this was going to be too much effort or energy. And yeah, it was kind of a little bit more than I wanted to. But I did think it would be fun to just divide them up into the previous years. So for example, I have in front here is everything that I purchased from 2018 back the way. Into like the mid-2000s. So there are 30 volumes here that were published either in 2018, 2017, 2016, all the way back to the mid-2000s. So some of the earlier ones, you can see some Tokyopop there, Incubus, for example, those kinds of things. These are all ones from earlier, even the Drama Queen as well. So these are ones that are older or even out of print ones. Now, 2019 was the year that I started my channel and I started really making these videos and taking stock of things, and so I wanted to kind of use that as the benchmark because that's when I actually started taking these statistics. So I have 4 volumes here that were from 2019, obviously a little bit smaller than the previous one, but that encompasses almost like 2 decades worth, whereas this is just from a single year. Now, if we move on to 2020, which is the year that we all remember, and of course one where manga reading really took off and a lot of people started reading manga. And I have 13 volumes from 2020. So these are ones that were published in 2020 and I've finally picked them up in the year 2023. So it took me 3 years to get these, but in the end I did. So yeah, these are 13 of them. So if we move on, you can see another significant jump from 4 to 13 to now 34. These were all published in 2021, or as close as I can probably estimate in terms of getting these numbers right. So yeah, 34 were published in 2021 and I picked them up in 2023. So it took 2 years to get them, and generally that means that I picked them all up second hand and I got them for really good deals because people had had a chance to purchase them, decide they didn't want them in their collection anymore and get rid of them, which meant I was able to pick them up for bargain prices. Which is also the case for 2022. Wow, I really had to pan out to be able to get all of these in one shot. There are 49 2022 releases that I picked up in 2023. So ones that were out for anywhere between 6 months to 12 months or longer, then I was able to pick them up for bargain prices, which is absolutely incredible. So yeah, these are all of the ones that I've picked up from previous years. And I do wish I'd looked at this for these videos in previous years, but this video is supposed to be just about my 2023 releases that I purchased, but I always did think it was interesting to look at the percentages for other years. So I thought I would just break it down really quickly in terms of my overall percentage. So in 2022, I picked up 49, and that is 30% of my 163 total. In 2021, it was 34, so that's 20% of my total. In 2020, it was 13, so that was 7.9, so 8% of my total. In 2019, it was only 4, so it was 2.4% of my total. And then from 2018 all the way back, that was 30, so it was 18.4% of my total. So along with my 2023 33 number, which was 20.24% actually of my total, that takes everything up to 163 volumes, and that's amazing to see the difference. So I picked up just as many, roughly, 2023 releases as 2021 releases, but that huge number right there, almost 50 in 2022 releases. So it really shows what my focus is when it comes to purchasing and what year released. I really focused in 2023. I was looking at those that were released in the last couple of years, and I think that in analysis, I look at the fact that I have been maybe shifting what I buy over the last few years, and 2023 is quite a good example of that, and that's because I had previously focused on out-of-print publishers, and I have now completed 6 BL publishers, so that's not as much of a focus, hence the 18.4% of anything from 2018 and back the way. Whereas there's also been a huge explosion of BL titles published by many different BL publishers over the last, say, 5 years. Since 2019, there's been an increase, and that means that there's more things to purchase from those years. So that was a really interesting sort of thought process that I went through, and I'm glad that I actually was able to visually represent this with all of these piles of books, which were very heavy and a bit of a pain to organise, but I'm really glad I did it, and I wish I'd done it for previous years. So if we get back to the other focus of this video, and that is obviously our 2023 releases that I purchased in 2023 and whether or not I read them. So what you can see in front of you is all of the 2023 releases in 2 piles. Just like last year and previous years, I have put them into a read and unread pile. All of the read are on the left and all of the unread are on the right. So just a couple of notes, especially when it comes to one of the piles, the read pile. We can see Twittering Birds, Never Fly Volume 7. Now this was the specific example that I gave last year, that Volume 6 had come out and I was able to purchase it in 2022, and Volume 7 was supposed to come out earlier on, I think it was like October, November time, something like that, for 2022, and it didn't actually come out until, I think in America it did come out, and I think some people were able to get it, and it does say inside that it's like a I think, a December 2022 release. But this is a very particular, as in we were not able to purchase it. It was still on pre-order on Amazon in Blackwell's. It was still as a pre-order up. So people in the UK could not purchase it. So this is the prime example of something being released in other places in the world, especially North America. But in the UK, I would definitely class this as a 2023 release. I also mentioned some of the Tokyopop ones. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but many of the sellers' websites do state that these ones are all 2023 releases, but some of them inside say 2022, and I think that's because some of them were released digitally first by Tokyopop, and then in some cases it took a month or 2 or even 3 before it was actually physically released, and then that's when it was available. So yeah, it's kind of like I've said, it's a tricky one to do in the UK because our release dates aren't the exact same as everywhere else. And also, a lot of these titles get announced with certain release dates and then they don't actually get released on them. And publishers do push them back and change dates because of printing issues and things like that, distribution. So yeah, it's as good as I can get it. So obviously you can see that I have a very large stack on the left hand side, and those are all my reds. And I have a fairly smaller size stack on the right, and those are my unreads. And so I have 24 red out of the 33. That means I have 24 red and 9 unread. And 9 unread is kind of interesting because I had 9 unread last year. That's just a total coincidence. But yes, 24 out of 33. And I do put that down as a percentage, because it's kind of nice to see what kind of percentage I have. And if I take 24 of 33, it is 72.7%. And when I first wrote that down, I was like, oh, that's really good. That's quite high, brilliant. But then I compared it to previous years, and now I'm really pleased because obviously 33 is the highest number of year purchases I've had, but also 72.7 is the highest percentage I've ever had. So in 2019, 60% of my new purchases got read. In 2020, 68% of my new purchases got read, so it went up quite a bit. Then it dropped down again in 2021 down to 60%, and in 2022 a percentage I was really pleased with, which was 57. The first time I saw it I was kind of shocked, but then I noticed in comparison to my overall reading it was the same, and so I was really pleased about that because it meant that I was just as likely to read the new purchase as any other time something's been published. And so I felt like I was becoming less focused on the new releases. That's obviously not the case for 2023 because boom, it shot right back up to 72.7, almost 73%. That's pretty good. That's a really good percentage. That means I'm bringing them in and I'm reading them, these newer titles, which is always good because I was doing read what you own and read what I buy especially. So that was one of my main goals, was to read whatever I'm bringing into my collection. And when it comes to the newer titles, which are always shiny and exciting and everyone's talking about them and everyone's getting excited and there's hype. And of course, I'm not immune to that. And so I did actually end up reading a lot of these new titles. And I have to say that the majority of them were read during readathons. So I didn't take part in any in January, but I had my own little things happening. But in February there was a couple of readathons, the Bonbon readathon, Love Manga readathon. In April there was the 1330, and I always try and read all of my physical, especially my new physicals, in the 1330. So we had 1330 in April. I think there was something in May, and there was definitely the Manga Pride readathon in June, and then in August I had my own 801 readathon, which I'm really hoping to be able to host again this year, which would be great. And then in September there was another 1330, but I got ill, so I only did it for about half the time. And there was Manga Freakathon, which I didn't do very well at, but then I decided to do my own 30th and 30 in November, because that's when it sometimes happens, and that's when I was making a really concerted effort to read all of the manga that I'd been purchasing throughout the year. So I think I did quite well in terms of reading the new titles, but I'm wondering what that means in terms of all my other purchases as well, especially in comparison to 72.7%. Now, just as interesting looking at my read pile as looking at my unread pile. My unread pile is really interesting for a couple of reasons, and there are reasons why I wouldn't have read something. Now, I have gone over what those reasons might be in previous videos, but I'll just reiterate. The first reason being that it was a December or November or even October pickup. So it was part of a haul video in October, November or December, which is kind of interesting because there are two 2023 releases that I picked up in December. One of them is Hirano and Kagiura Volume 2, and that kind of leads into the other reason, which is it's part of a series, and unfortunately I don't have Volume 1 of this particular series, so I can't read this volume. So not only did I pick up in December, but it's also part of a series, so I can't read it. The other thing that I picked up in December in December's haul was Heartstopper Volume 5. Now this is also part of a series, but I have read and I have got Volumes 1 to 4. So there's no real reason for me not to have read Volume 5, except that I picked it up in December. And that means, you know, it's Christmas, there's New Year, family things, shopping, work, all that kind of stuff. That kind of just eats into your time and makes it a little bit more difficult. It would not have taken me long to read Heartstopper, but I would have wanted to sit and carve out the time specifically for it, and I didn't do that. So those two titles I picked up in December were 2023 releases, and one I didn't read because it was December, and the other I didn't read because it was part of a series and I am missing the volume before. I have no November purchases in this pile. Every single 2023 release that I purchased in November is in my red pile. I did such a good job during that 13/13 November. I'm super proud of myself because there was quite a few that I picked up in the November haul, and I made my way through all of them and I made sure that I read them all. So I'm super impressed and proud of myself in that respect. The other ones that are in this pile though, a few of them are because of the series aspect. So Cast Heaven Volume 8, I need Volume 4. Sasaki and Miyano is Volume 7, I'm missing some previous volumes. The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, this is Volume 5, I don't have a couple of the volumes before that. Heaven Official's Blessing, I didn't realise this, but I didn't have Volume 2. I think I've got 3, 4, 5, I might have 6, maybe 7, I don't know exactly. But yeah, there was definitely some missing volumes for Heaven Official's Blessing, but also they're novels, and that's going to take another one. So this is the other reason. It's a novel, it's going to take a long time to read, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The other ones there are Cherry Magic, Volume 6 and Volume 7, and I'm missing a couple of volumes before these particular ones, so they're part of a series. I did pick up Sasaki and Miyano in October, so that was kind of a later one, but I don't think that really matters because it's Volume 7 and I'm missing quite a few. So yeah, the last one there that I'm going to mention is Hitorajime My Hero, that's Volume 13, and that kept me up to date. In fact, I have all of Hitorajime My Hero, I don't know, has Volume 14 come out yet? They're very quick, they're quite fast about bringing out the volumes, so every like 2 to 3 months there's a new volume. I feel like I need to make sure I'm on it and get it and keep it up to date, because up to this point I have them all and I have not read them all. So just in the same way that I'm looking at those novels, those prose books, and thinking, oh, that's a big undertaking, that's going to take me a while, I'm feeling the same kind of apprehension about Hitorajime My Hero, just because I need to sit down and read it all, and it's so long now. And it's such a big thing that I kind of need to do it as a big, probably a binge, maybe a full month, and just dedicate a whole month to reading Hijime My Hero so I can stay up to date with it. Because I did enjoy what I did read. I have read Hijime Boyfriend. So yeah, I have to get on that. So these are the reasons why I've added another one onto the list. 1, they're December, November pickups. 2, they're part of a series. And 3, it's just too daunting. I haven't got the time or the energy yet. Now, another statistic that I look at and I compare and contrast is my percentage read for 2023 when compared to my total purchases read percentage. So this is the out of the 163 physical titles, how many did I read? And I read 97 out of 163, which gives me a percentage total of 59.5%, which is almost 60%, which is incredible when I compare it to previous years because it jumped from around the 20 to 30 mark. And then last year it was a huge jump up to 57%, but I've been able to maintain that this year, 2023, and I've been reading what I've been buying. Yay! I'm so happy. It's really, really good because it's even higher than last year. And I was so happy about last year's percentage, and this year's percentage is almost 60%. If I round it up, it's 60%, which is incredible. That's a total for everything I've bought. I've read 60% of it, which might not seem like a huge amount, but when I mention the fact that there are reasons why I wouldn't have, and some are, or the majority of it is because they are being, you know, part of a series and I don't have the other volumes. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how much I have pushed that as the goal to read what I purchase in 2023, and it didn't matter necessarily too much because 72.7% and 60% are really, really close. As a sidebar, out of the digital titles that I read and I purchased in 2023, I read 100% of them. There were 15 digital titles that I bought and I read every single one. So I have 100%. That's not going to factor. I just feel like I need to throw that in there as a little extra pat on the back to me. Now, when I compare my non-year release purchases percentage read, it's much, much higher. So this is like all of the previous years. So in 2019, this would have been like a 2018, 17, 16, etc. And it was really low. It was only 19%. So I just wasn't reading these older titles as much. And it dropped down really low in 2021 to only 10%. It's really poor. So like older titles, I just wasn't reading. I'm just not that interested in. And yet last year it went up to 55%, and this year it is 56%. So I don't know if that is in reflection of the fact that some of the titles I'm bringing in are older titles, i.e. they're not 2023, but what they are, evidently, from the 49 2022 releases. So there's still fairly new ones. There's a lot that I've been picking up that I'm still really excited about because they might not be brand new, i.e. new releases, but they're still fairly new, i.e. released in the last couple of years. So yeah, overall, my 2023 releases read was 72.7%. My non-2023 releases or purchased read was 56%, and my overall purchases read was 59.5%, and that is just absolutely fantastic. And even it feels so much better than last year because I was overjoyed with the numbers I got last year, and this year they're even better. So I am really, really pleased the fact that I have been reading what I've been buying. So it's usually at this point in time that I actually look at what I've purchased for 2023 and what I've chosen to bring into my collection on the year of its release, rather than other things, other choices that might have been more obvious. Now, the big one there is the My Love Mix-Up, which I mentioned last year as well, and that is volume 6, 7, and 8. And that's because this was the one that I was really excited about, and I have been pre-ordering, or I've been keeping an eye out for them when they are incredible prices, and that's been like a real focus. So out of everything here, that's the one that I was like, yes, as a series, that's what I'm collecting. And I think the only other one that I was very much like 100% I must get you was I Hear the Sunspot 4 Seasons, which I think I did pay a little bit more. I think it was still less than £10 though. I got it for £9.71, and the only other one that was more expensive than that was Twittering Birds Volume 7, and that is the Junior Manga title, which I think I also kind of pre-ordered. Heartstopper as well was a pre-order that took a long time, but I managed to get that as a pre-order with Amazon, and so it was like the cheapest that they had it on previously, so I think it was like £6 or something. So when I'm looking at everything else, I honestly don't think, I think the only other volume, yeah, Twittering Birds was the most expensive at £10, I Hear the Sunspot was £9, and the next most expensive one was I Didn't Mean to Fall in Love at £7.70, and everything else was £7 or less. Even the other junior manga titles, which I have said are always so much more expensive, they were all £7 or less, £6 something, £5 something. All of these titles that were released in 2023, I picked up because they were under the £7 mark. My £6.99, £7 maximum. If I see something for less than that, then I know it's a good buy and it's going to be a bargain, because generally the prices are a bit higher now. And in fact, 2 years ago they were really high and it really felt like it was a bit of a squeeze. Now I'm able to find a lot of these new titles for bargain prices, and in some cases it's like just over £5. In some cases it's less than that, it's £3 or £4, because I'm getting them on special deals and I'm getting extra discounts, or I'm getting them as a job lot or a bundle. And World of Books, they were really great at the start of the year. I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. I'm picking up a lot of things. So I was able to pick up most of these for less than £6.99, less than £7. It's incredible. And that's why I've been picking them up. I don't go out of my way to get something unless I really, really want it. And I Hear the Sunspot, even if I pre-ordered it, I didn't necessarily get it as soon as it was released, because we're in the UK and it takes some time. So junior manga titles as well. So even if I do pre-order, I'm not necessarily guaranteed to get it. Even the My Love Mix-Ups, they all come out a month later than they do in North America. The Heartstopper, I pre-ordered that and it was late. In fact, Amazon gave me like a £5 gift voucher credit, even though the actual book itself was only £6. Like, I got most of it. I should have put that down as £1, actually. I should have put that down as £1 in my total. I'm just realising. So yeah, I mean, even the ones that I went out of my way to pre-order, I didn't necessarily get them on release day, and I didn't necessarily get charged a lot of money for them. So these were all bargains. That's why they're here. I guess that's the main reason, because they were cheap. I really enjoy making this video, so I hope you found it interesting. I do have another video planned where I go through my overall purchases for the year, and I go month by month. So if you're interested in that, you might want to subscribe, share, ring the notification bell, comment, all of that stuff. So yeah, this is one of my favorite types of videos, because not only do I go through statistics and the data, but this year it's actually been incredibly positive, and a lot of my titles that I've picked up, whether it was 2023 or previous years, I have actually read, and that's just really validating that I'm not just buying them, I am actually reading what I'm bringing in. Fingers crossed for 2024, Spoiler alert, so far I have not read anything new that I bought, so that's a big challenge for me. I guess joining more readathons is the answer, so let me know if there's any readathons, especially manga based ones or BL based ones that I should take part in, or should I just wait and read them all for my 8 of 1 readathon? No, I've got way too much to read already. So yeah, this has been a great video for me. I hope you found it interesting or entertaining. I hope this is the kind of thing that you like watching as well. I would love to know anyone else's read percentages. Do you read what you purchase, or do you tsundoku, which is one of the videos I made a couple of years ago. So yeah, thanks for watching to the end of this video. I'm 365-801. I make videos about BL manga, yaoi, male romance, and all that good stuff. Take care, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye!